The world has changed, and it's going to keep changing, but God never changes. We can't solve modern problems by going back in time. Retreating to the safety of the familiar is an understandable response, but God has called us to a life of faith, and faith requires us to face the unknown while trusting Him completely. It is easy for Christians to have the false impression that once we have established a relationship with Christ, which we believe sets us right with God, the problems of life will somehow scoot away, or they will slowly be removed from our lives. The wonderful thing about God is He knows what we need to persuade us. It's the most exciting thing to watch God work when I've asked Him about something, to listen to Him and watch Him work. It's like this friendship, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. I believe firmly in God's control in life. I am a preacher. I'm involved in many other things, but mainly I preach, and I love it. Not every Christian finds it easy to believe. A teardrop on earth summons the King of Heaven. I'm not against screens, new songs, or innovation. I just don't like the gimmicks. I want to know when worship is over that leader's sole purpose was to glorify the Lord Jesus Christ. There is plenty of television. There are plenty of talk shows. There are plenty of comedians. But there is not plenty of worship of the true and living God. If I ever wrote a book on preaching, it would contain 3 words: preach the word. Get rid of all the other stuff that gets you sidetracked. Preach the word. As far back as I can remember, my mother would have me down by the bed at night with her, praying. I can still hear her voice calling my name to God and telling Him that she wanted me to follow Him in whatever He called me to do. Sometimes I wake up before dawn, and I love sitting up in the middle of the bed with all the lights off, pitch black, dark, and talking to the Father with no interruptions and nothing that reminds me that there's anything in life but me and Him. I want to preach till the last breath in my lungs runs out. I have no interest in returning to yesteryear. I love the conveniences and delights of today's time. I wouldn't go back if I could. I am often the brunt of my own humor. When you have vision, it affects your attitude. Your attitude is optimistic rather than pessimistic. When you have vision, it affects your attitude. Your attitude is optimistic rather than pessimistic. I know of nothing more valuable when it comes to the all-important virtue of authenticity than simply being who you are. There is nothing more fearful for the average person in our society than to stand before a group of people and speak. The swift wind of compromise is a lot more devastating than the sudden jolt of misfortune. Prejudice is a learned trait. You're not born prejudiced. You're taught it. We need discernment in what we see and what we hear and what we believe. The remarkable thing is, we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. The difference between something good and something great is attention to detail. I cannot even imagine where I would be today were it not for that handful of friends who have given me a heart full of joy. Let's face it, friends make life a lot more fun. We are all faced with a series of great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. Attitude is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than what people do or say. It is more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude.